My name is Jack, and I'm 34 years old. I was married to my wife, Lily, for 6 years. She's 30 but could easily pass for someone in her mid-20s. Stunning, charming, and full of life. At least, that's what I thought. We didn't have kids. I was ready, but she wasn't. Soon, Jack, I promise, she'd say, her sugary smile always melting my heart. Our life together was great, but that wasn't even the best part. It was the way she made me feel. Her kisses, the way she'd pull me into a hug out of nowhere, and the way she'd laugh at my dumb jokes. Every time I held her, I felt at peace, as if the world was finally okay. I thought she felt the same. Apparently, I was a fool. Her betrayal turned my love into something cold and vengeful. People often say the opposite of love is indifference. For me, that's not true. It's this bone-deep rage that keeps me up at night. If she were on fire, I wouldn't even spit on her or put it out. You're probably wondering how I got here, how a devoted husband became a man plotting his wife's downfall. It all started with a company Christmas party last year. Lily always dressed to impress for these events. She had a knack for turning heads, and I admit, part of me liked it. I watched every guy in the room drool over her, thinking, yeah, that's my wife. But that night, something felt off. She was wearing a slinky black dress that hugged her in all the right places, maybe a little too much. I couldn't help but wonder who she was trying to impress. As we were getting ready, I told her, look, Lily, these parties get wild. People drink too much and lines get crossed. Just don't let anything happen that'll make me look stupid, okay? She laughed and said, Jack, come on. I love you. You know that. Stop being so serious. I didn't push it. I trusted her, and that was my first mistake. When we got to the party, the first person to greet us was her boss, Tim Mason. Tim's the kind of guy who's always just as close to crossing the line, tall, confident, and full of himself. He's the VP of the company and acts like he owns the world. His wife stopped coming to these events years ago, probably tired of his antics. Lily, he said, completely ignoring me as he took her hand. You look stunning tonight. I wanted to knock the smug look off his face right then, but Lily just gave me that calm, Jack, relaxed glance. Tim hovered around her all night, finding excuses to touch her arm or lean in too close. I kept telling myself it was nothing. Lily wasn't like that. She'd never disrespect me like that. Would she? At some point, I lost track of her. I'd been talking with some of the guys, trying to blend in and not obsess over where Lily was or who she was with. But then her friend Rachel came up to me. Hey, Jack, have you seen Lily? She was dancing with Tim earlier, but I haven't seen her for a while. Something about the way Rachel looked at me, like she knew something but didn't want to say it, made my stomach churn. I started searching for her. At first, I told myself I was just being paranoid. But then I heard muffled voices coming from one of the side rooms, breathy, unmistakable voices. I opened the door. There she was, bent over a desk, her black dress bunched around her hips. And there he was, Tim, his smirk vanishing the second he saw me. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen. My chest felt like it was caving in. Oh my God, Jack. Let me explain. Lily stammered, scrambling to pull her dress down. You've got nothing to explain, I said, my voice icy. We're done. Tim straightened up, trying to recover. Look, man, let's not overreact. I cut him off. Shut up. You think I don't know what kind of scum you are? You've been sniffing around her for years, and I turned to Lily, who couldn't even meet my eyes. You let him. Tim tried to act tough, stepping toward me as if he was going to intimidate me. Bad move. Before he could say another word, I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. He wasn't so cocky now. Listen, you piece of garbage, I growled. You're going to regret this. Not just tonight, every single day for the rest of your miserable life. I didn't punch him. That would have been too easy. Instead, I slapped him hard, over and over, until his cocky smirk turned into tears. By the time I was done, He was crumpled on the floor, whimpering like the coward he was. My buddies, Eddie and Paul, had shown up by then, probably tipped off by Rachel. They stood in the doorway, watching in stunned silence. "Get him out of here," I said, my voice flat. As they dragged him out, I turned back to Lily. She was crying, mascara running down her face. For the first time since I met her, I felt absolutely nothing. "Get your coat," I told her. "We're leaving." The ride home was dead silent, except for Lily's occasional sniffles. I kept my eyes on the road, my hands gripping the wheel. "Jack," she finally whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't answer. "Please, Jack." "Just let me explain. It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking. I love you." That word, love, it felt like a knife to the gut. "You don't love me, Lily," I said, my voice calm but venomous. "You love the attention, the excitement, the thrill of sneaking around. But me? I'm just your safety net. The guy you run back to when you're done playing your little game." "Games?" She sobbed harder. "That's not true. It didn't mean anything. I was stupid, selfish, but it didn't mean anything." I slammed on the brakes, pulling the car over to the side of the road. "It didn't mean anything," I said, turning to face her. "You destroyed our marriage, Lily. You betrayed me in a way I'll never forget. You betrayed me publicly, and you're telling me it didn't mean anything." She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. "Jack, I'll do anything. Please, just give me a chance to fix this." "There's no fixing this," I said coldly. "You made your choice. Now you get to live with it." Instead of driving home, I took a detour. Lily noticed immediately. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice tinged with fear. "You'll see," I said, not bothering to look at her. 10 minutes later, I pulled up in front of a modest suburban house. The porch light was on, and a car was parked in the driveway. "Jack, what is this?" "Who lives here?" she asked, her voice full of confusion. I got out of the car without answering, walking around to her side and opening the door. "Get out," I said firmly. She hesitated, her eyes darting between me and the house. "Get out," I repeated, reluctantly. She stepped out of the car, wrapping her coat tightly around herself. I grabbed her by the arm, not hard, but firmly enough to make it clear she wasn't going anywhere, and walked her to the front door. I knocked. After a few seconds, the door opened, and there she was, Claire Mason, Tim's wife. Her face lit up with confusion and concern. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Mrs. Mason," I said, my voice polite but firm. "I'm Jack Holden. I used to work for your husband's company. May we come in?" She looked at me, then at Lily, her confusion deepening. "Is everything okay? Is Tim all right?" "Oh, Tim's fine," I said with a bitter smile. "He just had a very eventful evening." Claire stepped aside, clearly wary, and motioned for us to enter. Lily looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor, but I tightened my grip on her arm and led her into the living room. "Please have a seat," Claire said, glancing nervously at Lily. "No, thank you," I said. "This won't take long. My wife has something she needs to tell you." Lily's eyes widened in panic. "Jack, please don't," I said sharply. Claire's gaze flicked between the two of us, suspicion dawning on her face. "What's going on?" she asked. I looked at Lily, my expression cold and unyielding. "Go ahead, Lily. Tell her what you were doing tonight, or do you need me to do it for you?" Lily's lower lip trembled. I... Say it. I barked. "I was sleeping with your husband," she blurted out, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking." Claire's face went pale, her eyes narrowing into slits. "How long?" Lily hesitated, but I wasn't about to let her off the hook. "Tell her, Lily. The truth. All of it. For years," she whispered, barely audible. Claire let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. "For years," she repeated, For years of lies. She turned to me, her face a mixture of fury and pain. And you just found out tonight? I nodded. I walked in on them at the office party. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Claire stood up, walked over to Lily, and slapped her so hard that Lily nearly fell over. You filthy, Claire spat. You can have him. I don't want that cheating bastard anymore. After we left Claire's house, I drove Lily to her sister's place. She was a wreck, sobbing and begging me to reconsider the entire way. You don't have to do this, Jack, she said through her tears. We can work through this. We can fix it. No, Lily, I said quietly. You broke it, and some things can't be fixed. When we arrived, I didn't bother helping her with her things. I handed her the keys to the house and said, Don't come back until tomorrow afternoon. By then, I'll be gone. Jack, please. Goodbye, Lily, I said, turning back to the car. And take these. I threw her panties, which I had put in my pocket earlier, in her face. She broke down completely as I drove away. I returned home when it was almost morning to pack my last things. It felt strange, like walking through the ruins of a life that wasn't mine anymore. The pictures on the walls, the scent of her perfume still lingering in the air, it was all so familiar, yet none of it felt real. I packed quickly, not wanting to spend another second in that place. Before I left, I grabbed one last thing, the photo of us on our wedding day. I didn't take it out of sentimentality. I took it because I didn't want her to have it. Divorce proceedings started almost immediately. True to my word, I offered her a deal. Split the assets evenly, no fight, no fuss. On one condition. She didn't contest the divorce, and I wouldn't drag her name through the mud with adultery charges. She agreed. What choice did she have? She knew I had enough witnesses and evidence to ruin her completely. As for Tim, I kept my other promise. I filed a lawsuit against him for alienation of affection. It's an old law in some states, but it's still on the books, and it's designed for situations like this. I wasn't looking for money. I wanted to humiliate him. The lawsuit made headlines. VP of Mason Industries sued by former employee for adultery. It wasn't long before the board got involved. Turns out, they weren't thrilled about the scandal dragging their company's name through the mud. Tim was forced to resign to spend more time with his family. Oh, and his family? That didn't last long either. Claire divorced him, taking the house, the kids, and a hefty chunk of his savings. The last I heard, he was living in a one-bedroom apartment unemployed and drowning in alimony and child support. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Lily tried to move on, but she found out quickly that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Word of her affair spread like wildfire, thanks to a few strategic conversations I had with mutual friends. She lost more than a husband. She lost her reputation. Her family, once so supportive, was disgusted by her actions. Her friends stopped returning her calls. The dream life she'd taken for granted, gone just like that. She reached out to me a few times, begging for forgiveness. I made a mistake, Jack, she'd say. I'm so sorry. I'll never stop loving you. I never responded. I didn't need to. It's been a year now. The pain hasn't gone away completely, but it's dulled into something manageable. I'm in therapy, working through the anger and betrayal. But honestly, knowing they both got what they deserve helps. People ask me if I'll ever trust anyone again. The truth is, I don't know, but I do know this. I'll never settle for less than I deserve again. Lily destroyed the life we built together, but in doing so, she gave me something I didn't know I needed, a second chance. As for her, she gets to live with the consequences of her choices every single day. And that's a punishment I wouldn't trade for anything.